Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary, and if it's the first time of stopping by, this is my channel where I talk about marriage, education, spirituality, and many other things. So today I'm going to continue the series on studying abroad, and I'm going to discuss with you on specific destinations you can choose to study irrespective of where you come from the world. So today I want to focus on Europe, studying abroad in Europe. So if you want to study in Europe, there are certain things you should consider. One, you should consider the place you want to study, your sources of funds. Two, you should consider specific things like language. Three, you want to consider the course you want to study. Is it offered in that particular country? So let's get the ball rolling. Studying abroad doesn't come on a silver platter. Everybody wants to study abroad, should be ready to invest in it. Investment can be financial investment or even physical investment or leaving your family behind and traveling miles and miles. And before you take that step to study abroad, you should investigate and know where exactly you want to go. For example, you want to know how much am I going to invest in my studies, or you want to know how much scholarship is there for me. So let's look at this financial aspect. So if you want to study based on scholarship and you want to study in 2021, I guess by now your application should have been processed or should have been submitted. But in case you want to study in next year, then this is the right time for you to start looking for available options for scholarships. So different institutions in Europe have different scholarships for international students, and I think you should be checking each country's websites, because we have country scholarship, we have an institutional scholarship. And if there's a specific institution you want to go, there's always a link for funding and scholarship. You should also consider that. But more importantly, there are other places in Europe that you can actually study for free. So, for example, in Norway, university education is free to every student, irrespective of wherever you are coming from. So, whether you are coming from Africa, Asia, Europe, America, Australia, or you are even an alien, you don't have to pay university education. It's tuition free for everyone in government institutions. And this might sound like too good to be true, but actually that's the truth. Students in Norway only pay a semester fee of around 300 to 600 Norwegian krona, which is barely, let's say, £30. So it's quite cheap to study in Norway, but it's not cheap to live in Norway, that I must tell you. So before you can get opportunity to study in Norway, you have to show proof of funds to support your studies, and that is usually around over 100,000 Norwegian krona. And this money will have to be transferred from your home country to a bank account in Norway. That's quite a lot of money. So you might consider you want to study for free, but you have to have that amount of money to be transferred from your home country to a bank in Norway. So when you get your visa and you get, then the money will be paid into your account. If peradventure your visa application is denied, then the money will be transferred back to you. So you can study in Norway actually for free. In Germany, education is literally free as well from the university level. You can also try Germany if you don't have a source of fund, but you have a source of tuition, but you have a source of maintaining your livelihood. And just like Norway, you might also have to declare your source of livelihood. You have to show a bank statement that shows that you have that amount of money specified to take care of your study. You might also want to consider Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. It's not necessarily free for international students, but free for students coming from Europe. If you are an international student, their fee ranges are quite cheaper or lower as compared to other places in Europe. So unlike maybe UK, for example, that you need like 14,000, 15,000 pounds in UK, in Denmark, Sweden, probably 7,000 US dollars and upwards can actually get you a year's tuition. So if you don't have any source of fund, you might want to consider Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. Belgium is also another great destination. They have quality education. And I must confess, education in abroad is on the very high level. And even if the school doesn't count to the first 20 or first 30 or first 40 in the nation, it's usually going to give you quality education. So Belgium has quality schools, quality education, and there are lots of scholarships in Belgium. But in case you want to study there too, their tuition fees on a lower scale as compared to other places. You might also want to consider France, especially if you're coming from a francophone country. And let's also consider UK. So UK, as compared to other schools I've mentioned, doesn't have like reduced tuition fee. UK has tuition fee that is slightly on the high rise as compared to the nations I've mentioned. For bachelor's education, you might want to raise maybe 14 to 18,000 pounds per year for your tuition fee. But on the average, living in UK outside London is actually cheaper as compared to living in other places in Europe. So in case you have enough funds to support your studies, UK is a great destination you might want to consider. And all these places I've talked or I've mentioned give students work additional time for work to their visa. So within Europe, students are allowed to work up to 20 hours a week. So which means you can actually do part-time jobs to subsidize your living expenses or to raise money for your tuition if the part-time jobs or part-time job is enough to pay for that. Okay, now let's consider other sources of funding aside self-sponsoring yourself. So in Norway, there used to be the quota scheme scholarship, which is currently not running, but that used to sponsor students by paying for their living expenses. Irrespective of that, if you want to still study in Norway, there are other scholarships available. I think we might want to check the institutional page because as I said earlier, we have institutional funding, the same for every institution across Europe. And you might also want to consider Erasmus Mundus scholarship. Usually it's for it's for European students, but there are other Africans who have also received the Erasmus Mundus. So you do not count yourself out. Just look for the Erasmus Mundus and see if your country is part of those countries that are in the program, because the Erasmus pays for your tuition, the Erasmus pays for your living expenses, and the Erasmus scholarship allows you to rotate between 3 institutions within Europe, usually within 3 countries, which is quite cool. And it gives you that international experience. You might also want to consider other scholarships such as government scholarships. So if you are coming from your country, we have government scholarships to sponsor students to study abroad. We have scholarship secretariat for many nations. I know in Ghana, we have the National Scholarship Secretariat. Somebody will tell me, okay, but it's quite competitive. So it's so competitive, I know, but if you have not applied and you've not been denied, you cannot say that I applied and I wasn't given. So you might want to consider getting scholarship from your home country that will help you sponsor your study. And if you are coming to the UK, we have the different scholarship. We have the Gates Cambridge Scholarship, we have the Chevening Scholarship, we have the Marshall Scholarship, and we have the scholarship for students within the European, within students from within the Commonwealth. So we call it the Commonwealth Scholarship. So if you're from a Commonwealth country, and these scholarships are full funded scholarship, it covers all aspects of your studies from living expenses to tuition. Irrespective of all these scholarships I've mentioned, every institution, as I said earlier, has institutional scholarships. So if you want to consider doing PhD, we have what you call research studentship, which is what I benefited from. So that is also a full scholarship, taking care of your tuition and your living expenses. We also have part scholarships that take care of your tuition, especially if you're coming to the UK and you take care of your living expenses. And we also have other courses that is based on the on research grants. So you can apply for a research grants even if you are not coming from UK. Most of the grants are open to international students. So I know of the AHRC, which is a grant usually for PhD students who want to study in UK, or the Research Council grants. And if you've lived in UK or Europe for a long time, you can also apply for student loans. So in Norway like this, we have the Lånekassen, which gives funding to students. So if you've probably stayed in Norway for a while and you want to continue education, although tuition is free, you might be qualified to access the Lånekassen funding to pay for your living expenses. So these are some of the opportunities and ways and means, but if you want to study for free, you might consider going to Norway, you might consider going to countries where tuition is actually slashed for both internationals and locals. Or if you want to sponsor your own study, and if you want to leave right after your study, you might want to consider places such as Denmark, Sweden, Finland, because the tuition fee is quite minimal. But if you want to also consider living in the places you are going to study, then you might also want to look at the post-study visas. So for example, in Norway, after your studies, if you get a job that matches your course, you are able to get a work permit, or if you don't have a job at hand, you can apply for a job seekers permit for a year to look for a job. And when you find a job, you're able to move on to a work permit. In other places in Europe, such thing arrangements are made, especially in Netherlands. If you are studying for a PhD, you are not given a study permit, you are given a work permit, which means after your studies, you are able to apply for permanent residency after some time. In UK, even if you are doing PhD, you are given a student's permit. But after all, if you stay for some time, you can still apply for permanent residency if you want to stay in UK. And UK recently introduced the post-work visa, which gives international students 2 years to look for a job or to work within Europe or within UK. So the post-work visa can be applied right after your studies to give you 2 extra years to be able to work and raise money to pay back if you went for a loan to study or if you sponsored yourself. So these are some good opportunities in Europe. If you have questions, specific questions for specific countries, you can put it in the chat box, and we'll in the next video you might want to consider America and other places. Once again, thank you for stopping by my channel. And if you've not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe and invite your friends to subscribe as well. Have a good week. Bye.